Coach, you and I talked about this during our coverage of the NFL draft, that it became awfully obvious to you that there's a couple bullet points out there that say this program is better prepared to handle a situation like this than some other programs.
Well, it's often said in the NFL that the NFL is a quarterback league. And every time I hear that, I kind of laugh, because so is college, so is high school. It's a quarterback sport is what it is. And so those returning with experienced quarterbacks have a big time advantage over everyone else. I mean, you're talking about when you have Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Trask in Florida, you have people returning at that critical position. That to me is number one advantage that they're going to have. If you're trying to break in a new quarterback without spring football, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's impossible. That's going to be very, very hard to do. That's the one position of all other positions, and respectfully, I say this of all other sports, the quarterback position is the most unique in any that I've ever coached, been around, and witnessed. And that position takes time. It takes consistency with coaching. So if you're returning your coordinator, you're returning your quarterback, you are heads and tails against your opponent. The second one, and it's rather obvious if you have an easy schedule. If you come out of the gate because you need your spring practice, there's some teams that play very easy schedules early on. That basically is what? That's their spring practice. And then as they get the ones that start with a non-returning quarterback, a very difficult schedule, I don't know. If I was that coach, I'd be in a panic right now.
Let's hear from our quarterback union, Joel. But first, Matt, what do you think about Coach's idea that if you already have a quarterback in place, you're already head and shoulders above some of the other programs?
Yeah, I think it's a big factor. I think, like to Coach's point, when you have coaching stability coming back, you have a lot of teams who have new coaches. They have to implement new systems, new foundations. Those teams are going to be behind. But when you have coaches and stability that already have a foundation, that gives you an advantage. And then you talk about the quarterback position, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, you look at Clifford at Penn State, a lot of these teams who have guys that have played a lot of football. They've been through spring camp, they've been through fall camp, but they've been in the fire during the season. And Joel, you know as well as I do how important spring practice is, not only just to get the reps on the field, but also in the classroom. And then also, as a quarterback with experience, you're also lifting the players around you. You have a lot of new guys coming in, and they're looking at the quarterback position, the quarterback, to kind of carry them along. So that's why I think when we go into fall and we have, this 6-week program, those teams, the Lawrences, the Fields, Clemson, Ohio State, those quarterbacks, the coaches know, listen, we have our player, and we know that our quarterback is going to elevate the players around them until those players get comfortable in the system. So I for sure think you look at some of the preseason top 10, top 15 teams, a lot of those teams have quarterbacks that have a lot of experience. To me, those are the teams that will have an edge early on this season.
Yeah, I mean, all great points. There's no doubt. And just to piggyback on what you're talking about with experience, when you hear about reps or experience or anything along those lines, I think that's all code for failure, right? Like, Matt, you've got to, as a quarterback, go out there and do the coverage wrong, throw the wrong route, right? No coach wants to see that, but those teaching moments are critical. Why? Because you don't want a teaching moment to show up on a Saturday during the fall. You desperately want teaching moments to show up during spring football, off-season conditioning, and then during fall camp. So that's why the experience is going to be, such a key part of this season. And there's a couple of combinations of offensive coach and experienced quarterback that I think are going to be very important and vital in this season. I'd go out west. USC, guys. Keaton Slovis keeps Graham Harrell as his offensive coordinator. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown on the outside. I know I'm preaching to a couple of Trojans here, but that's a potent combination that's not going to have to switch systems. I know that Minnesota is switching coordinators, but you've got an incumbent quarterback there. Arizona State with Jaden Daniels. Both of those teams, guys, have easier schedules, like Coach was talking about. They could be teams that maybe rise up and actually threaten to win a division for the first time in a long time in both of their cases. Notre Dame has an incumbent quarterback. But those experiences are all about failures, right? You've got to fail at the quarterback position in order to have teaching moments to get better and move forward. And that also, Coach and Reggie, as you know this, in a huddle, you got to see that guy and how he deals with fire. That's how you become a leader, right? And so the leadership element of this has been stripped away from some of those quarterbacks, which is, again, lends itself to these experienced guys that are coming back that have played a lot of football.
Yeah, and Joe, I agree with you. I think the leadership has been stripped away in some respects, but I also believe that this is the most important time for those leaders on those teams to step up because of the situation that everybody is dealing with. And that's the thing. Everybody's dealing with it. It's not just one college. So everybody is starting out with the same opportunities with practices and getting in there with your players and starting to begin, that continuity and building that relationship with your teammates. And it's very important. And so I think we're going to see some teams really excel, during this time period. And we're going to see some teams probably really fall off.
I got one thing to add, Rob, and that is that I can't agree with Reggie and Joel and Matt, but this is where it comes back to that scheduling conversation. So did Oregon really lose? Did the AD at Oregon really cost them a shot at the national title while playing Auburn? Remember that conversation we had last year?
Sure.
So you're an AD, you're scheduling right now. If you have an easy schedule, no one predicted the COVID-19 lockdown. No one had any idea that was coming. The mistakes that Joel Klatt talked about, I sat in those huddles with many a quarterback. And when that quarterback makes mistakes, that's part of the learning because he will make mistakes. You don't want to make it on the road against a top 5 team.
That's right.
You want to have a couple games at home in a comfortable environment where you can coach and teach them through that. Usually that's spring practice. You didn't have that. So I'm telling you, and I'd like to do a little research on that. Who has the easiest schedule? Because those will be the teams stronger come October.
Coach, I'll add this.
A couple of those teams, Rob, just real quick, that I mentioned. Arizona State opens with Northern Arizona and then UNLV. You look at Minnesota. They open with Florida Atlantic and Tennessee Tech. Watch out for Minnesota and Arizona State. I'm telling you, they've got the schedule, the incumbent quarterback, a lot of these things that we're talking about.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.